that's the big question with the forecast.
Yes, it is going to be a bit of a soggy weekend ahead, but you know we're moving into that time frame where it's just kind of normal for us. So I think we can probably handle this next batch of the wet weather as all things are calm and quiet now as the cloud coverage continues to push its way over much of the Pacific Northwest. A beautiful shot here of the rolling hills, and now some of the leaves starting to turn out towards our Tualatin Valley camera, and that's where our temperatures out at PDX sitting comfortably in the mid-50s. But you'll notice that the wet weather trend, it starts to pick up as we work our way through the rest of today. That in turn will help to slide our temperatures back into the low 50s. So we'll be nearing our peak heat moment of the day just a little bit earlier in the day as opposed to what we typically see around 3-4 o'clock or so. But this right here, a lot of moisture, an atmospheric river that's taking aim at all of western Oregon and western Washington. That's going to keep the flow of moisture into our area over the next several days. We'll get a few breaks here and there, but for the most part, it really starts to ramp up within the next hour here, specifically for the Portland metro area, but already seeing some good rainfall amounts out towards the I-5 corridor. You can see here since midnight already picking up 5/100ths of an inch for Salem, almost about 1/10 of an inch for some of our coastal communities as these numbers only continue to climb. So for western Oregon and Washington, expecting to see the widespread rain really take a hold of our area later today. That's going to take us into Thursday, but the impacts, we're talking about several inches of rain, and that could potentially lead to some urban flooding. So act fast to clear a lot of your drainage systems out along the street curb. That's where the leaves will likely block a lot of that runoff water and will also make for kind of a gross slushy mess as we see the leaf blowing forecast with rainy conditions all the way through tomorrow. Friday, that's going to be slightly drier for us with only about a 20% chance of rain. But those leaves, they will be very wet as the winds might help to dry it out just a little bit for the second half of the day tomorrow. But let's go ahead and look at the movement of the atmospheric river. Here it is stretching all the way from the state of Hawaii into western Oregon and Washington. And you'll notice as we move our way into Thursday, Friday, that's where it starts to dip a little bit, clears its way from our area. That's where we get a brief pause of the wet weather just for it to return by the week's end and into the weekend, keeping the wet weather trend for Saturday and into Sunday. But at least here is today's snapshot of the wet weather. 1 o'clock, expecting to see it widespread through the Willamette Valley. Those yellows and oranges, a good indication of heavier downpours that we expect to see, but it will be a widespread rain event for the entirety of the day. That's where our rainfall totals by the end of today will amount to almost a ½ inch for the Portland area, almost 6/10 of an inch for Salem, and almost a full inch for the coastal communities. But once we fast forward all the way into the weekend, that's where we're talking about a multitude of inches, talking about almost 3 to 4 inches out along the coast, a very real possibility. And not very surprising because the month of November is typically our second wettest month of the year with about 5.5 inches of rain on average. And today, our current temperature, that's where we should be sitting for the month of November, but we do cool things off to the low 50s by the end of the month. Now, as far as those winds go, they're going to start to pick up for tomorrow as we expect to fall back this weekend. That's not the only thing that's going to be falling, is also the rain showers. But our 7-day forecast does show that we expect to see those winds pick up close to about 20 to 25 miles per hour tomorrow. That's going to help to dry things out. The cloud coverage remains Friday, and then maybe a thunderstorm potential later in the day on Saturday. But the good news is those temperatures into the mid-60s in many cases. A nice change of pace for us.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer the 60s this time of year. Who doesn't?
Just have to fight through the rain, that's all.
And the wind, yes. Okay, we'll be right back with more weather. Stick around.